Elections in Uganda are fast approaching, and there is a tight contest between the incumbent YOWERI Museveni, as well as Bobi Wine. These are the two major contestants in this election, and we have seen a lot of accusations being traded, between the two gentlemen. They are accusing each other of not planning or running these elections according to the electoral law. So this is something which is very important, which we need to look at. There are very important accusations being raised by the incumbent YOWERI Museveni. Let us take a look.
You have been seeing the indiscipline and anarchic conduct of some of the opposition, guided by the wrong politics in their heads and prompted by parasitic foreigners that back them. They make many mistakes. These include transporting audiences to create the image of big crowds at the venues. Those arrested following Mr. Kyagulanyi at Mile 4 in Mbarara confessed that they had a fleet of possibly 200 vehicles transporting those nomadic audiences. You then have the Kyagulanyi schemes of causing chaos in the country on behalf of the foreigners that fund them and back them. Mr. Kyagulanyi and his evil foreigners that back him fail to understand that Uganda is a land of spiritual and political matters. The spiritual matters like Karoli Rwanga, etc., the political matters like Rutamaguzi are very good examples for the present generations. Many Ugandans, especially those that have been with the opposition, get flabbergasted by those schemes and link up with us and peacefully dissolve those schemes. Do you remember Taja Kulaira? Do you remember Gen Z plan for the 4th of July, 2024, for the riots like those of Kenya, etc.? Do you remember those? They were rejected by the people. Have you noticed the number of NUP flag bearers for parliament that are pulling out? The criminal opposition must also stop intimidating Ugandans. You have no right to intimidate a Ugandan. Therefore, Ugandans, come out and vote. Nobody would intimidate you or endanger your security. Anybody who tries will have himself to blame and will end up badly. The future of Uganda is bright. Our first oil will come out next year. Regarding the police methods, I reject the practice of caning lawbreakers. Some police forces in the world do it using batons. I, however, reject it. It must stop. Teachers and parents used to cane us, but it was a wrong method. However, using tear gas for rioters is both legal and non-lethal. Doesn't kill. It is much better than using live bullets. However, the police should be more methodical if they are to use tear gas or water cannons or other non-lethal techniques by, for instance, requesting in time the bystanders to move away before using tear gas and other anti-riot non-lethal methods against the rioters. The police should use loudspeakers to warn people and give people time to pull away. I have been busy campaigning and have not been following the antics of the opposition actors. I have, however, heard that the mobile audiences of Mr. Kyagulanyi have been looting people in some cases. I last heard of the attacks on people I talked to myself in Abim, Karamoja. These ones I talked to myself, who were attacked. by the gangs of Mr. Chagulanyi. Uganda is secure. Go out and vote. Uganda and NRM are unstoppable. Happy 2026 and beyond. Thank you.
Museveni is Bobi Wine is actually abusing the NRM supporters, and you know, this cannot be substantiated because they cannot prove that they've been abused by Bobi Wine and his supporters. But we need to critically look at these accusations and understand what is really happening. When you see an incumbent coming out to accuse the opposition of scheming against him, of passing people, of trying to attack them or attack their supporters, just know that a lot is happening. And also the critical message was sent to the police to actually deal with the NUP supporters. And this is something which is very important. So you are looking at this, and he's saying Bobi Wine is busing supporters. There is no law which prohibits any candidates from busing anybody to the venue. As long as they are going for the campaign, it's allowed to actually bus your own supporters. But in this case, Bobi Wine is not busing anybody because people are coming out to actually meet him because they are sick and tired of the dictatorship. They really want change to happen in Uganda. That is the reason why you are seeing that with less mobilization, a lot of people are actually going out to meet with Bobi Wine. And the police has been deployed so much that the supporters of Bobi Wine cannot beat the supporters of YOWERI Museveni. And also we have seen the police brutalizing the supporters of Bobi Wine. And each and every time the convoy of Bobi Wine is moving, there are lots of police who are there following. And that makes it impossible for Bobi Wine to be buzzing people and to be canvassing to bring people elsewhere because they are being blocked. So that is something which is very, very important to note, that is something which shows that they are scared. The regime is running scared. Why are you running scared of young people? So they have accused Bobi Wine of planning chaos and violence, and they are saying the people they've arrested testified to such effect that is what is being planned. If Bobi Wine wanted to cause chaos, Uganda would be burning right now. But I believe he's a young man who is so loved by the people, but at the same time, he's a young man who can control his people. He can tell his people to go home, and they comply, they go home. They're not violent at all. So the NUP consistently frame their activities as non-violent, and they always campaign to have peace during this election. We have seen the involvement of the military, and that has been criticized a lot by human rights activists who have said, why are you deploying the military for a mission which the police must be in charge of? And we have seen preemptive arrests which are happening right there. And the state has failed to clearly present the real charges for the arrested people in court. So that is something which is very important to note, that when there is no case, you always struggle to find charges. So YOWERI Museveni in the same statement claims that Bobi Wine does not have support. If Bobi Wine does not have support, why deploy the police? Why are you deploying the military and the police at the same time? Why are you banning his rallies? Why are you deploying riot police? Why are you arresting organizers? Why are you shutting down media coverage? Because the state media is not covering Bobi Wine as much needed. We have seen repression. We have seen other media houses being banned and being shut down simply because they are covering Bobi Wine so much, and that does not sit well with the YOWERI Museveni regime, and that is so wrong. So what Museveni is fearing is the fear of mass mobilization. You know, when a dictator is about to be defeated, they scramble around and they do everything to make sure that they remain in power, to make sure that they intimidate the people, to make sure that they remain firmly in control. Recently, we saw the military boss in Uganda telling voters to vote and go home. Yet the constitution says they are allowed to be 20 meters away from the polling station or from the polling area to monitor how elections would be happening. But that is allowed by the constitution of Uganda. But we are seeing the military instructing people to go to vote and then go home. Why are they scared if Bobi Wine doesn't have people? So that is something which is also very, very important. Here is the reason why Museveni is scared. Young people, the Gen Zs, they want change in Uganda. They are no longer supporting the party of YOWERI Museveni. They're supporting the NUP. And the urban youth, they are actually in support of Bobi Wine. They're doing all they can to make sure that they put maximum support to Bobi Wine. So we have seen also the young people protesting against the regime of YOWERI Museveni because they're abusing everybody and they are actually disqualifying candidates of the NUP in various places, in various areas. The same way Mnangagwa in Zimbabwe is and has been doing against the opposition. That is the same template and the same handbook which is being used right there in Uganda. So they are trying by all means possible to control the elections and how they are done. And, you know, that does not sit well with the young Ugandans and others who want change. We have also seen the continuous persecution of Besigye, who is a former ally of YOWERI Museveni, is being brutalized, is being denied access to lawyers. A lot is happening simply because they are running scared. So the strength of Bobi Wine, in his symbolism, is a symbol of change. Everybody, when they are looking at Bobi Wine, they see change. He is somebody who is bringing connection between the older generation and the new generation. There is an agreement or a consensus that the new generation must lead and take out Uganda out of poverty. So you can see that Bobi Wine is a man whose ideas does have the ability to turn the economic frustrations into something better. That is the reason why they are running around and they are so scared of young men. So when you are looking at Museveni, each and everything which he addressed during his New Year address, he addressed Bobi Wine. Instead of addressing the people of Uganda, instead of speaking about their progress, the progress of the government, he was speaking about Bobi Wine. Is Bobi Wine the only candidate in these elections? No. There are so many candidates who are in these elections, so many political parties who are forming part of this election. But why the focus on the NUP and why the focus on Bobi Wine is because he's the man who is loved by the people. He's the man who is being trusted by the people. He's the game changer when it comes to political issues in Uganda, right there. So Museveni is trying to manage the succession anxiety. He's old, he cannot continue, and he's trying by all means possible to contain the situation, which he's failing to control entirely. So it's no longer about ideology, it's now about Museveni's continuity, it's now about the succession, who succeeds him. Will his children have a chance to succeed him? There is also fear that if his son is to leave the military, there might be something else happening also within the military. So this is the reason why Bobi Wine, the Museveni regime is not so comfortable in letting Bobi Wine to actually run the campaigns as he would have wanted to. We have seen the ruling party, they've tried by all means possible to force venue owners to deny Bobi Wine an opportunity to canvass his rallies. We've seen threats everywhere. We have seen, you know, some revocations happening on some venues. That is not how democracy works, and that is what is happening right there in Uganda. So a lot is happening, and we have to speak out as Africans because we believe that there must be change in Africa. We believe that there must be a point or a time where we have joining change happening across Africa. You can look at how progress is happening in Mali, is happening in Burkina Faso, is happening in Niger because of the new leadership which came. You can look at Botswana is becoming one of the key examples, and that is something which is very, very important. That is the reason why we have to be in support of the Gen Zs in Uganda. We have seen so many arrests so far, but what we have to understand is that is how dictatorships works, and we hope and believe that the opposition in Uganda will have a good race and the people will go out to vote. Let me remind the young people across Africa, as long as dictators continue to ban elections, continue to play dirty tricks during elections, just know, they know one thing: they can be removed through and via elections. And what we need to do is we need to canvass, mobilize, and come out in our numbers. That is the only way we can win change across Africa. So when you're looking at Zimbabwe, over 6 million people were registered to vote, but around 4 million people went out to vote. What happened to 2 million people who didn't vote? Those are the people who mostly supported the opposition, but they couldn't vote. Why? It's because some of them, they were denied an opportunity to vote, like in Harare, in Bulawayo, in Manicaland. And if you go to others, they are in diaspora dotted across the world, around millions of people, more than 2 million people are in South Africa alone. So when you're looking at that, you can actually see that that is the reason why you see the ruling party continue to manipulate, because we register in our numbers, but we do not vote in our numbers. That is the biggest problem in Africa. So we need to make sure that everywhere where elections are happening, let us lose, but it's voter test. We must go and vote in our numbers. And then we look at the statistics and we look at how we would have performed. So this is it. This is what is happening in the country called Uganda. There is a lot of repression. This statement or the speech of the president of Uganda, it was offside. It was all about Bobi Wine, yet he was supposed to be delivering a New Year message. I just want to acknowledge those who are live with us. Temba Maposa says this son is the one running the show. Mwosi, thank you very much for this contribution. I agree with you. Daniel Zubudana says that's unsatanic president. Okay, Ugandans must cast protest votes to do away with this dictator. Yes, there is need for the people of Uganda to vote in their numbers and to make sure that they vote out this dictator. Their victory is our victory, because as Africa, we are not progressing because of these dictators who came in young, but they want to continue to be in power for a very long time. When Museveni came into power, he was almost at the same age with Bobi Wine right now, but he is looking at Bobi Wine as a very young man, and he's calling him not mature. Was he not mature himself when he became president? Why is he now labeling others not mature? So you can actually see the kind of people we are dealing with, but hopefully change will come to the nation of Uganda. They are going to the votes in 2 weeks' time, and we wish them the best.